The pontoon. And yeah.
One. Welcome to the Franklin County Community School Corporation scheduled Board of Trustee meeting for the month of June. To call to order, I would like us to stand beside the Pledge of Allegiance and observe a moment of silence, if you would, please.
I pledge allegiance,
to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion? Rick and Kevin. All in favor, raise your right hand. 6-0. Grants and donations are next, which we don't have any. So personnel new hires.
Yes, we have several new hires this evening. I'll just go down those. Kristen Layton, custodian at Brookville Elementary School. Tracy Denny, special education at Laurel. Krista Markham, paraprofessional at Laurel. Trinity Tolles will be filling a teaching position at Laurel. Amber Hartness, custodian at Franklin County Middle School. Chad Gutzweiler will be moving to the high school to take the Achievement School position. And Crystal McQueen will be filling the payroll benefits coordinator position at Central Office.
Is there any discussion?
So with Mr. Gutzweiler moving, we'll have a position to fill for him now?
Yes.
Any other questions?
So moved.
Seconded? Kevin? All in favor? 6-0. Next up are personnel retirements.
This should have been on here a long time ago because she did submit it, but Cass Bennett, a teacher at Laurel, did submit her intent to retire at the end of the school year, which has already happened. So we need to officially get that approved. So.
Any discussion? Is there a motion? Rick makes the motion. Is there a second? Beth. All in favor? 6-0. Personal extracurricular.
7th grade volleyball coach Jalen Rogers and volleyball assistant Ashley Volk and Miss Stone Street 5th and 6th grade elementary cheer coach at Brookville Elementary are ECA recommendations for this evening.
Any questions or discussion? Do I have a motion? Kevin and that's Jessica, right?
That is.
Jessica. All in favor? Raise your right hand. 6-0. Next up are overnight field trips.
Just one on the agenda for tonight. Boys basketball going to team camp June 21st through the 23rd.
Any discussion? If there's none, can I have a motion, please? Rick and Kevin. All in favor? 6-0. Next up are the financials. Kendra, if you would, please.
The corporation financial report, the education fund balance as of May 31st, 2024 was $5,658,949.06. A year ago, this balance was $3,721,064.78. The operations fund balance as of May 31st, 2024 was $6,181,768.22. A year ago, this balance was $2,957,238.98. The rainy day fund balance has stayed the same and is sitting at $1,068,712.84. This was the same a year ago. The investment interest earned year to date as of May 31st, 2024 was $255,502.43. This is compared to $105,380.03 a year ago. With this, I just want to remind the board that the operations fund balance is inflated due to the bond that we moved over. Also, we received our property tax installment, so you will see that that's the reason for the inflation. At the end of this month, towards the end, I will be moving that to the rainy day. So next month, you'll see that decrease quite a bit, but the rainy day will show the deduction out of the operations.
How about the investment earned? Does that go into the operations or go into rainy day?
It goes into the education fund.
Education fund, okay.
Unless it's sitting in a bond. Right now, we have our bonds that we are working on. So the bond that we did for the roofing or the turf and chiller, those are separate in a separate account. So all interest, due to the State Board of Accounts, they want that interest to stay within the bond until the bond has expired. But other than that, everything else goes into the education fund.
Any other questions? This was a discussion-only item. Let's move on to the cafeteria report.
The cafeteria fund balance as of May 31st, 2024 was $561,576.66. This is compared to $656,592 a year ago. The latchkey fund balance as of May 31st, 2024 was $19,695.84. This is compared to $10,042.89 a year ago. In addition to this as well, Ms. Chavis and I talked today, and I will be instructing the latchkey coordinators to be spending this money on the kids. It's not meant for a for-profit. We are going to be giving that instruction to them to spend this money on supplies used for these kids.
So it's strictly supplies.
Yeah, supplies, or I want to get feedback at the beginning of school and see if there's anything in particular that they need, and we'll go from there.
The other question I have is this for a specified child or is it for children in general?
It'll be for the kids utilizing the latchkey program.
Thank you. Any other questions? I believe this is discussion only, so we will move on to recommendations for the wages of classified employees.
The members of the Salary and Wage Committee and I are recommending approval for a wage increase for classified employees.
Discussion? If there's no discussion, can we have a raise?
I was just gonna make a comment that we talked and just, we're getting everybody on the same level as surrounding areas, so we've taken that step, or Kendra has taken that step.
Yeah, both Jessica and Kevin met with Kendra. So it was
Yeah.
reviewed by the financial committee, so we will give you our trust on that one. All in favor, or I'm sorry, motion, Rick? Second? Kevin? All in favor? 6-0. Now the recommendation for the administrative wages or office personnel and director.
Again, the members of the Salary and Wage Committee and myself are recommending the approval for wage increases for administrative office personnel and directors. And along with what Mr. Kaiser was saying, what I did is I did some benchmarking of the surrounding schools per position and what they are making, and we based the increases this year to get everybody else in line with the surrounding schools.
And again, both Kevin and Jessica reviewed these, correct?
Yes.
Oh, and your recommendations are for those. So is there any other discussion?
I think this will certainly help us to keep our help.
Is there a motion? That was Rick? Or was that Brandy? I can't see that
Rick,
far.
Beth.
Rick and Beth, thank you. All in favor? Got a 6-0 vote on that. Next up is celebrations.
Yes, the first one is Mr. Robert Williams, who is the choral director at Franklin County High School. He's here to present the award for the Indiana State School Music Association All Music Award for 23-24 school year. First time Franklin County has ever won that award, so very, very proud. Can you use that mic? Yes, so our online listeners can hear.
So the State School Music Association offers an award to the schools who have people who go to state solo ensemble. You have to have so many soloists and so many ensembles attend that competition. Then you have to have a choir that attends the jazz competition, and then you have to have choirs that attend the district competition, which happens in the spring. And so all 3 high school choirs attended that. And so this is the first time that we've ever been given this award because we were able to meet all the requirements for that. It's a pretty big honor. I think there's only about maybe 40 schools in the state of Indiana that got it this year. So we have a huge banner to look at, so Keith will help me. We'll hang this up
In that hallway?
in the hallway.
Yeah.
We'll hang it up in the hallway by the gym. So that way, something new.
Awesome.
And all music encompasses,
Just the choir.
Just the
We were
choir.
the only ones that met the requirements.
Keith, pull that up there, we go.
Sarah, do you want to
did
get
you
a?
want to get?
Yep, Sarah's coming
Beth,
around
wanna
too.
get a picture?
And I also have.
He's going like this.
He can extend his arm out. I didn't know it was that long.
It is, right.
Your side, Keith, lower your side.
I am very level.
Thank you very much.
If you can, turn it around and show the audience.
Oh, the
On
camera.
the camera, yeah.
Excellent job, Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Now, ladies, I want you to remain fairly calm during this next part of the celebration.
That's my walk-up song.
Just turn mine off.
Did you hear that?
As I do every June, I want to recognize our retirees. I believe they have 2 here tonight. Everybody else seems to be on vacation. So the first one is Mary Ellen Jones. If you could come on up here, please. She's retiring from her paraprofessional job at Laura Elementary, where she has been there for 45 years.
Come on, up to the mic.
Yes, yes. We always ask them what they're going to do in retirement, and you're going to spend time volunteering.
Volunteering, I'm working at the local food pantry and the library.
Okay. She said the best part of working at Franklin County Community Schools is the coworkers I had the privilege of working with for so many years, and I know you have very, very close relationships with your staff and students at Laurel, and you will be greatly missed. So I appreciate everything that you've done. Thank you. Do you have any guests here with you tonight?
No, just me.
Just you, okay. Mrs. Backus. It's like we went in the last day of school, and it was Joy and Pam was in the hallway, and we all hugged. And she had on a dress that her students made for her. So tell me the background on the dress.
I just found a white dress that I had, and then I had little boxes made all even. We all had the same amount of space, and they drew a picture. Every child drew the picture, put their name for like a memory.
And you made a dress out of it?
Yeah.
And she had that on the last day of school. It was awesome.
That's sweet.
So she is retiring from 2nd grade at Brookville Elementary. She's been with the school corporation for 26 years, and I think you did some temporary work, but you've been at Brookville Elementary your entire career, correct?
Right.
Yes. So in retirement, she has a 175-year-old farmhouse that she's going to entertain and do the typical gardening and whatnot, but she's going to travel. So she gets to do this in September while everyone else is back to school. She's going to Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. So that'll be exciting. How long will you be gone?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay. Her favorite part of teaching was helping students engage in learning and seeing struggling learners gain confidence. And she's very grateful for her coworkers that became great friends along the way. Yes.
Hi, Mom.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you both for your years of dedication. Pictures.
Pictures.
Yes, I have 4 others, but they are not here, so I do want to recognize them.
Yes, please.
Okay. Kate Pope is retiring. She's at Brookville Elementary School. She's retiring after 30 years, but she's also spent time in suspension. She's been at the high school as a secretary. And like everyone else, she's going to enjoy spending time with family as she retires. We've talked about Cass Bennett tonight. Cass is retiring after 26 years in the school corporation. She's currently a 5th grade teacher at Laurel. And the best part of teaching for her was having students gain confidence in themselves and their abilities. She went to Laurel about 3 years ago, where she had been at Brookville Elementary School in grade 4, and she finished her career up at where she went to elementary school. So congratulations if she's listening. Joy Bishop is retiring from a literacy coach position at Brookville Elementary. She joined Franklin County Community Schools in 1989 as a paraprofessional, and she was later hired as a teacher in 1999. She's been with the corporation for 35 years. And last but certainly not least is Pam Hignite, and she is retiring from art at Franklin County High School. She's been with the school corporation for 22 years. She's going to continue to create art. I think she's talked about creating her own YouTube channel. She's going to learn how to teach yoga, and she really was the glue, I believe, that held that department together. So she will be missed greatly, but I think having our own YouTube channel might be worth it. I don't know, but so those are our retirees for this school year. I think last year we had about triple that amount, but congratulations to all that are choosing to retire, and thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
I know Mrs. Sarah would like to get a photo of you guys.
At this point in the meeting, we allow our guests who came for celebrations and such to make an exit if they so desire, or you're more than welcome to stay and listen to my wonderful monotone voice. Your choice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up are statements from the public, which we have none. Then we have statements from employees, which we have none. Superintendent's report, nothing there. Now we're taking care of old business. You want me to read it?
I can.
I prefer you to.
Okay. So last board meeting, we spoke about 2 policies, public participation and employee participation. So I did put it back under old business. I didn't hear from any board member since the last board meeting if there was any particular changes that they wanted in the policy. So it's either up for discussion or tabled.
There's no changes in the public comment, correct? On what's on
Unless
here?
you're suggesting one.
But that's what I mean. There's nothing.
I think
There was an addition.
it's on the sign-in sheet that I wanted them to match. So the sign-in sheet now matches the board policy, but it wasn't a change in policy. It was just making sure that that language matched the sign-in sheet that's in board policy. So really the only new policy would be the employee participation piece. But there is a slight change, so that's why it's on here.
Just in the sign-up sheet.
No, the board policy now matches. They both match, yes.
Questions, comments?
Are are we doing these at the same time, or?
No,
Okay.
no.
I'll make a motion to approve the public participation.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Randy, all in favor? Okay, now comes the board policy, which Tammy will read that.
So it's employee participation at board meetings. We've always had that as part of our agenda, but we've never had a board policy. So really what I did was mirror for discussion last board meeting was mirror the public participation to see if there was any revisions you wanted to make to that. And I don't believe there were any last board meeting. So it's being presented back as is from the last board meeting.
Any comments or questions?
I'll say the same thing I did at the last meeting, and I've talked to several employees. I don't think this should be part of the agenda. It's not on any other surrounding schools. We have the public participation. If an employee or an employee group wants to come and discuss something, they can be put on the agenda. But if it's an issue that needs to be handled internally, it needs to go through the steps, not be dealt with at a public meeting like public comments are. Not opposed to them coming and speaking, but I don't think it needs to be on the agenda for the same as the statements from the public.
I disagree. I think that the employees should have a voice in the action. There's only so far you can go with dealing with an employee complaint. If the complaint is about a board member, as long as they're not using a name and going over that, I see absolutely nothing wrong. We talked about transparency, and I think this is part of it, is recognizing they have a right within the school corporation to speak about things that the public wouldn't know. They're very specialized, and hopefully we can handle it internally, and it'll get resolved. But if it couldn't, I think it gives a voice to the employees to at least vent.
Anybody else?
I was just going to say, I agree with Kevin in the sense that, you know, and I'm not trying to be argumentative, but at a certain point, if you have that many employees coming to speak about a grievance or a complaint of some sort, then at what point does it also affect their daily duty? So I feel like handling it internally, and if they do, like Kevin said, if they have something that they do want to say, yes, I do want to hear it, and I do want them to come to a board meeting and know and feel acknowledged and be heard, just as they do as anyone else. I just feel like as a business owner myself, or, you know, helping at vice president, I guess I should say, when we have a problem with an employee, they come to the office and we handle it in a grievance step process. They don't come to our board meeting to speak about those things. So I guess where I'm coming from is if, you know, they have an issue, I do want to know about it. But I don't think coming to a board meeting is always the best place to do that.
May I say something?
Certainly.
Tell me if I'm wrong on this, assuming this, but isn't that what we had the meeting the other night when the teachers were very upset and we gave them a chance to come together and talk?
They would just added to the meeting.
If we shut them out though, Rick, I don't think that's in the best interest.
But I don't think
of the
that's shutting them
teacher.
out. They still have a right to come to any meeting and say what they want. But I kind of agree with Kevin that if they're going to come before the board, it doesn't need to be in a public setting if it's a grievance that could be handled internally.
I agree with you 100%. But they got to a point there at that one meeting that they couldn't go any further. So they came to the public meeting and expressed their opinions.
Yeah,
And that's
they
what
would
I want
still have
them
that
to be able
opportunity.
to do.
They would still have that opportunity. I don't think
That was kind of my point. If there is a major topic that a group wants to speak on as employees or as an employee group, that can be added to the agenda. I mean, I would think we would all be okay with it. If it's gotten to that point, it needs to probably happen.
We-
But if it's somebody individually with a problem with a school board member individually or whatever, they would be coming as a member of the public, not as an employee. If it's an issue as an employee, it should go through the steps.
Okay, what if they
Through the chain
go
of
through
command.
the steps, not to interrupt you, but what if they go through the steps and they don't get a response from the individual?
Well, they still come
Then you go
to
to the next step.
a public
The next step
meeting.
is what?
Yeah, but
Public
when they
meeting?
got to the next step, the highest step, they had nowhere else to go except to come to the board.
It's
And-
gonna be what happens now.
And
If they-
also, excuse me,
Okay.
also, we had a few years ago where we had a bus driver and an incident. And that bus driver ended up in front of the school board. So I just think that if we shut our employees down at this point, and I agree with what you guys are saying, there are steps, there are grievance steps. And if we're gonna give the public, then we should give our own family, our
Well,
own teachers.
they still have that opportunity.
So what's the
Is there a
big
limit
deal?
on the number of minutes that public comment can be made?
3.
3 with up to 5 speaking on the same thing?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
And it mirrors, so this, someone's gonna have to pull that up.
I have, yeah, and you're correct. I mean, that's, and this employee's policy would mirror that. I mean, all valid points. We've not used the employee comments very much in our typical meetings, right? I mean, usually we don't have many employees coming to this as their channel to say what they have to say. It usually is handled differently. I see a few benefits. I mean, I think, again, that, like Beth says, they're our family, you know, that's our school corporation right there, but putting them on the pedestal, giving them their own spot, I see a benefit from the public side, though, people that are sitting here or maybe listening to a meeting, just having that division of this is exactly who's speaking, an employee versus anyone else that could come to speak in a meeting, may help. I think that gives more clarity just to why they're speaking or where they're coming from.
So if there's an issue from an employee that they feel they should come to a board meeting, do we expect them to skip all the other steps before that?
No.
Going through? Okay.
No.
And I don't think
So
they
if it gets to the
would.
point that they want
Yeah.
to be here, we probably already know about it, right?
Yeah?
We should,
So
yeah.
it's probably going to be an agenda item, or we're going to have an executive session, or whatever needs to take place, right?
No, it didn't last time. It's
And
only
we-
happened once where we've
I
had this.
understand.
I mean,
And
I
we
think
could
we're
have, we could have
arguing,
made a specific agenda
here's
item
what we're
for that.
arguing about, whether the employee should be recognized as an employee or not.
If they come and speak to us, they're gonna be recognized as an employee anyway. When they get put on the agenda, it'll be put on the agenda that this person wants to come and talk. And
That's kind of my point. Why do we need
Yeah.
a separate policy for employees? If they want to come speak as a public
Well, I guess
stakeholder,
my
they
counter
can.
argument is why not have a separate policy for employees? I mean, you can argue that both ways.
And I've said because if they have an internal issue, it should go through the steps.
And they,
And they
if they
do.
have, and they
do,
did.
and then they had no more steps to go through, so they came to the board.
then that's it. They can come to the board. They're,
Hey, all I'm saying is, that's our family, that's our people,
sure.
and are we gonna deny them the fact that they can come and
No.
speak?
No.
You would if you're eliminated to 5, because it possibly could get to 5 and then you cut your employees off. If you have an employee separate, then you get 5 more people that are allowed to speak on that topic. So there could be a potential where you are limiting employees. I don't see that happening very often.
I don't
But
even
it
see this
could.
really as much of an issue, to tell you the truth. I think if the board is above reproach and handles everything, this is a non-issue. I think it's just a matter of transparency with your employees.
It's a non-issue anyway, because if they want to speak before us, all they got to do is come and
If
ask
it's
people
a
to be put on the.
non-issue, why are we discussing it?
We're
It's an
discussing
issue.
it because it was on the agenda but there were no rules. So
And so
that's,
we're trying to apply rules, and you guys say, don't do that.
And I'm just saying, why do we need to have it if we already have the public participation? That's it.
I think it
That
was
it.
well spoken with the family issue, but obviously that's not so for you.
And I would say having it would limit employees. If there's an issue that needs to be discussed as an employee group, or whether it's the union president or whoever, I'm sorry, you're sitting out there, Kelly, but, just in general, if they want one person to speak for them or whatever, but if you have this policy, now you're limiting them to 5 people talking about one topic.
And,
Whereas when we did it the other couple of meetings ago, we let them have as many as we wanted. So if it's an agenda item and we discuss it and agree to let them speak and do what, speak their mind, then
How do
we
you
don't have
make
to follow that
employee
policy.
disgruntlement an agenda item, please?
Well, again, if it's employee disgruntlement, they should be going through the steps. If
And if
there's a
they went
major
through the
issue,
steps and get to the point to where there's no resolution, what do you do?
Then they can come before the board.
Okay, so what you're saying is we should change public comments from what you said to
No,
not
that's
limit them,
different.
and then you wind up with 2 hours of
That's
public
different.
comments.
That's different. That's different. The employee is our employee. We give them their say.
But then you still need a policy on that. You still need to set those
You need
parameters
to
of what that
define
may
them
look
as
like.
an employee of why they're speaking.
If you're gonna say, then that employee participation just changed, if you're saying everyone, because it's saying 5 now, but you're saying everyone now, and unlimited.
All right, I'll agree with you on that, yeah.
So you
I
gotta.
think I mentioned that last time. I think, so I think it should be on the agenda. And if it's on the agenda, we should have some policy behind it as far as what does that look like.
Yeah, I'll agree to that.
I would like to take some of the restrictions off. I mean, I don't think we should limit them to the 3 minutes or the 5 per topic, just because I feel like they should be heard. This is probably really extreme because you're right, they're gonna go through the other proper channels and probably 99% of the time of the cases, but they should be heard. And I don't think they should be limited, and I don't think it's the same risk as the public where this is their employer. They don't want to come in here. They're not going to come in here and say just about anything because they definitely have their job on the line, their livelihood on the line. So I think that the restrictions should not be on the employee
Do
comments.
you have a time limit in mind when you say there shouldn't be a time limit?
Per person, speaking time per person. I do not have a time limit in mind. I would not limit them to 3 minutes.
If you'll think back, when we did have the union, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Our teachers come in and spoke that night, we eliminated the time limit that night, and we decided that we were going to let them say what they wanted to say. And that's our people. I mean,
Yeah.
we didn't eliminate anything. There were no rules. We made them up that night.
No, not for the teachers speaking last year. You're talking about in March or April?
Yes.
March.
Right. There was no existing policy, so we
Exactly,
agreed
and that's
to
what we're
rules
here discussing, to
prior.
see what we need to do
And
to
I'm-
make a policy, and you're
all I'm
saying we
saying
don't
is
need one.
That,
and some of us believe
that
there are.
instance,
I mean, you're
This is
entitled
the-
to your opinion, Kevin, I'm just
I
opposing
understand.
your opinion.
If we're gonna have a policy, then it should mirror the other. I mean, you can't leave it unlimited. But again.
I don't think it should be unlimited, I think it should be longer than 3 minutes.
15?
I was
I would
thinking
probably-
like 5 or 10.
I was thinking 5.
I was thinking 5, if I'm being honest. I don't know how that sounds to you all, but I was thinking like a 5-minute limit. And I don't know that I would limit the individuals that speak on the same topic, because I think they all, even though the topic would definitely probably be all the same, if there's multiple employees coming, they may have different things to say
And
about
I
it.
agree with Jessica
So
on that.
this would open it up to where an employee could just come in, write their name down, and speak on whatever they wanted as an employee for 5
No.
minutes. Why not?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, they
we-
could, but
we
they
would
wouldn't.
we would have some inkling that they were going to come to the board. If we don't, then we're not doing our jobs very well.
So again, we would know, so why do we need this? That's my whole point.
Because we can resolve it before it comes to this point. This is when there is no resolution. That's my point.
If we have so much discrepancy or so many ideas, I suggest that we table this and bring your ideas, get your ideas together. I'm sorry. I know we don't want to table anything.
Well, there's not much more ideas than
You don't
what
have
we
to
had.
table it, you just
It's
don't
just-
make a
Well, we
motion.
can't agree.
You just don't, well,
Okay,
Nobody's
is
made
there
a
a
motion.
second for the tabling?
I will second to
Okay.
table this policy.
All in favor? We have 4. Did you vote yes, Brandy? Yeah. 4 opposed. Rick and I are against. Okay.
What?
It's
What?
tabled.
Board policies tabled. Okay.
for the employee
For
participation.
Right.
speakers.
Who voted for tabling it?
Beth, Kevin, Brandy, and
So it
Jessica.
was 4. And then you voted no.
And Rick.
And Rick.
Okay.
Okay, next up is board policy revisions.
So this was also old business. These were sent to us from Neola policy revisions. A lot of them were rescinded and moved into one board meeting policy. I had no questions asked from the last board meeting, so I'm assuming there are no questions.
As I asked last meeting, it's just cleanup, right?
Correct. Technical corrections or new legislative changes that had to reflect in board policy.
I do have a question. I know I'm looking down through here and there are some that, like, we don't have the cardiac, the AEDs. Do we still have everybody trained on that or not?
Yeah, we
Yes,
have a
we
team
do.
in each building.
Okay,
Yes.
good. And then we have the cardiac, that are all coaches. The sudden cardiac arrest, that's all been taken care of.
Yes.
All these have been taken care of.
Dustin, and you've got band and choir, because they have one right outside their
Right,
unit. So
Right.
yes,
okay,
the school nurses would facilitate that every
Right.
year.
right.
And I know a lot of buildings did a cardiac response drill at making sure they can get to those AEDs in a timely manner, and they have their team set up. So that did happen as well.
Okay, and then who else was in on that other than the state made their statements about what they wanted to do with the AEDs and the emergency meetings, the blah, blah, blah. Extracurricular, what, are all these policies ready to go?
These are already current policies.
Okay,
These are
that
just
have been-
revisions.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion? Rick and Beth? All in favor? Got a 6-0. Next up is old business.
Yep, new business.
Oh, sorry, new business. Yeah, that's that word there, new.
Is Brittany here? Oh, Brittany's here.
Yes.
You were
Behind
hidden
the
behind
wall.
that post.
Yeah, why are you hiding for?
I had to
Brittany?
sneak in really late. I'm sorry. Well, not really late, just like a minute. The kids needed me. Sorry. I would like to request approval to add an attendance bonus for corporation bus drivers. Over the past couple years, there's just been attendance issues here and there, and I was hoping that if we did some kind of bonus, maybe that would kind of give them a push to want to not take off as much possibly. And as you can see, it would be perfect attendance with 0 exceptions, so they would be expected to, this is for bus aides as well, I apologize, bus aides and bus drivers for corporation only. So if they fulfill their route or their day job descriptions, every single day for 180 days, drivers would get a $500 bonus for the year, and aides would get a $300 bonus for the
Where
year.
would that money be coming from?
I assume the operations.
Yes, it'll be the operations fund. Yes.
And just for reference, if this would have been in place already, there would have only been 3 employees that would have got it last year. I would have had 1 bus aide and 2 bus drivers.
So did you survey the bus drivers for the amount and what they should have to do?
I
for
did
this,
not,
or
but I
you
did
just-
reach out to another school corporation to see what they have in place for their bonus, and the only one that I got in contact with was Rushville, and that $500 is the same price that they do as well.
Okay, and what was their success rate with the bonus being offered?
I did not ask her that.
Okay.
I noticed you have it by semester as well, like
Yes.
500 for the year, and then so would they get half and half, or they have to be
So,
0?
I wanted to have a little discretion there because I know life happens, and I'd hate for someone to miss out on it because someone passed and they have a funeral or something.
But that's okay for them to take off for that.
Correct. Well, and that's why, but with the perfect attendance, like no exceptions. So if we did it by a semester, then they still are able to get possibly the $250. So with that, they wouldn't get paid twice a year. It would just all get carried to the end of the school year. The check following the last day of school, it would go on to that. So we wouldn't pay it twice.
So if they miss a day on the first semester, but they don't miss any days on the second semester, they would get $250 for not missing any days the second semester, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And if it was vice versa, they didn't miss any of the first but did the second, they'd still get their $250.
Okay, I think that's a great idea.
And do contract drivers offer any incentive program like this?
I would suggest that they would, just because their drivers are doing the same as our corporation, but I can't make them do that.
Yeah, I
That's-
realize that. I didn't
I-
know if
to-
they had already implemented something.
Not to my
and
knowledge.
You were modeling after them.
Not to my knowledge, no. They may do, I know there's some that do little holiday bonuses here and there for their drivers, but I don't know if anything particular to attendance.
Brittany, what do you do? Like, 5 o'clock in the morning and you've got somebody calling or, I mean,
I
who
have
usu-
some great subs, not that many, but as all of our drivers are getting older, they're not as willing to go out on a random route that they might not be so comfortable with. But if someone calls me first thing in the morning, I start thinking, okay, where is this route going out at? Who may be familiar with it or comfortable enough to where I would feel comfortable with them driving it, not doing it every day. There's been times where I would have to come in and drive, or I've also had to combine routes. As we all know, not all of our buses are full of kids. We may have to have one come in a few minutes late just so they can reroute to pick up this whole other route, so we're not missing anybody. It doesn't happen that way so often. We do have a lot of great employees, so I can count on a handful of our subs to just kind of at the drop of a hat do anything. But I want to keep them all. So the ones who don't take off, they're really appreciated, and I just thought if that's the least we could do for them.
I think that's a good idea.
And I only have a handful of full-time drivers, and they're accumulating their personal days and vacation days, and they have the mindset, if I don't use them, I lose them. And it's a big deal if they aren't here. It's not just anybody that can fill in for them. They have to be licensed and certified. So if we can at least give them this incentive that would pay a little bit more than cashing out, if we could ever. They've tried to ask me if we could get something put in place where, well, if I don't take them, can you just pay me out for my days? Well, we don't do that, and it would be hard if we can't do it for all employees, even though drivers are a little different. I just wanted to try to insinuate something like this to avoid having.
So if a driver takes vacation, then that messes him up for that quarter, or?
If they choose to take a vacation during the school, yes, they would not be able to get the bonus.
How many drivers do we employ?
Just corporation. I have 2 bus aides and about 15, give or take, drivers. It just depends if something changes with special ed and I have to create something for somebody.
I think if it's an excused absence, like vacation or a death in the family or something like that, that shouldn't exclude them from the bonus, because, you know, that's something that they're entitled to.
I can probably agree with you on a possible funeral, but a vacation, they know how important it is for them to be there. And that's what they agreed to at the beginning of the year, that they drive 180 days. And if they, I mean, they have the whole summer off. I mean, a lot of them do plan their vacations in, but then it's like, how, I don't know how that can be fair for the person who doesn't take any time off and they get the bonus, but they could have taken time off and they choose not to.
Well, that's up to them, but
Do they have paid time off or vacation
We,
days?
only full-time drivers receive vacation days and personal time. And out of all of the drivers, only 3 of them are full-time. So the rest, they don't have days to use.
And Rick, sorry if I may, that was kind of the idea behind the semesters. You know, if someone has something come up and they have to take off a day or two in October, that's not around a fall break, a Christmas break, or Thanksgiving, things like that, they don't lose it for the entire year. They still have the second semester to be entitled to half of the bonus. So that was kind of the idea behind tracking it by semester, was so that life does happen, vacations happen, things like that, but we're still trying to incentivize them to be there because their job is so specialized and needs a lot of requirements.
Okay, just doing the math in my mind, 8,500 would be if everyone achieved perfect attendance there, correct? And
You
then,
did the math faster than I did.
oh, sorry. And then, how much do we pay for a substitute driver?
If one of my full-time drivers takes off, we still pay them and the sub. And it depends if they do a whole
On which
day.
route?
Do what?
On which route do you drive to?
It depends,
Full day.
like the Career Center costs more. We
Yeah.
pay that, it's like $85 almost to run that. Or just a single run in the morning is about $64 a run. So if someone does a whole day, we're looking at about $125 a day for the sub plus the person who took off.
Yeah.
One day is half of the stipend.
Yeah, I think it's worthwhile to do this. I think long-term savings.
And since I've been here the past 7 years, the 2 employees the 2 bus drivers that have had the perfect, like they've had it every single year. There's not been any other drivers that have not missed a day. And it is kind of difficult at times if a driver takes off. So I'm hoping that it will push them to be more willing to be here every single day. We can't just, like with other positions, someone, if they don't need a fill-in, or if someone, like a teacher, like they have aides and subs that come in, well, a bus driver, they have to have their license and they have to be certified, or we can't drive that route. They're really, really important to be there.
Yep. I agree with everything that you're doing, and I'm glad, you brought this to our attention, but I still, if a person is entitled to that vacation and they're a bus driver, I just don't think they should be penalized because they took a vacation.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what
I don't
thought
view
the
it
point
as
of
a
the
penalty.
bonus was.
I view it as they had the option to
Yes.
alter
They're
their
still gonna get
vacation
paid.
times.
Yeah, they won't
Yeah.
miss
They'll
a day.
still be getting paid, they just won't be eligible for the bonus for perfect.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
So, and I agree that, you can plan your vacations differently. I mean, if your family takes vacation the same time every year and it falls into a driving day, then obviously they've opted to go on vacation rather than go for the bonus. I mean, it's a choice.
I understand the argument or the comment of vacation, but I agree with Francis. They're not losing anything. It's a
Right.
bonus.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I
So-
know that. Yeah.
Brittany, have you thought much about like a school, like a makeup day, snow makeup days? I mean, that I assume all plays into this. There's no exception around that.
Yes, because the drivers also know when they get the calendar that they're highlighted possible snow makeup day. So
Okay.
they know that that's a possibility if there's a day before then that we don't have school, that they will be driving that day.
Any other discussion? Can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a
the addition.
second? What's that?
Brandy?
Randy? Sorry, you two at the end, you're just too far away.
I feel like I
All in
the
favor?
time.
I think that was 6-0.
So,
Did you vote yes, Rick?
Yes.
Yes, 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brittany?
Thanks, Brittany.
See you guys.
Okay. next up is Sarah Duffy, who is our redevelopment commission watchdog.
Let me pass this out.
I'm Sarah Duffy. I'm your representative on the Franklin County Redevelopment Commission. And I want to tell you, first of all, that the Redevelopment Commission has agreed to reimburse the school corporation. The correct amount is actually $4,800. Kendra corrected me on that, for an app that will link to the school's website. And the Redevelopment Commission said that they will agree to consider a second grant for up to like $3,600 that is geared to something along the lines of marketing the schools. Remember that campaign about marketing the schools? And these grants are coming from the property taxes collected from the Industrial Tax Increment Financing District and the Industrial TIF for 2023. So our up to 15%, remember that? Our up to 15% is like $8,400. So there's some more if the school puts in an application for a grant. On future revenue sharing, the Redevelopment Commission, if they haven't sent a letter already, they will shortly, saying they will not share any of the money with the school, because if they do, they have to share it with all the other taxing units, with the township, with the library, etc. So they're going to keep all the money for in the Redevelopment Commission, but they are open to another grant for the taxes that come in for 2024, but only from the industrial TIF. So we'll explain that in a minute. So a majority of the voting members of the Redevelopment Commission do not want to share any tax money that's going to come from the new residential TIF that's being talked about and proposed for Reservoir Road. They said that money is going to be needed for possible bonds for infrastructure. So later this summer, the new residential TIF will go before the county commissioners. They will actually make the final decision whether or not the schools will share any of that residential TIF money. Remember, we went back like 2 years ago, back and forth, 15%, up to 15%, and finally the commissioner said, yes, we'll give the schools up to 15% revenue sharing in lieu of getting the regular tax amount. So anyway, I don't know what the county commissioners will do, but the board I sit on is going to recommend no sharing. Now, you're going to be first to preview this. You're going to get in the preview the newest information about the residential TIF. Now, why are we doing this residential TIF? It's because that was part of an agreement with the state to get the $4.5 million to put the sewers up Reservoir Hill. Had to create a residential TIF. Some money would continue to come in, keep the sewer going, etc. Okay, what is it going to do? The property tax money from new housing only in the TIF district is collected, and it's going to be spent for more economic development. It could be more sewers, sidewalks. Now, this is the first time I've heard him talk about widening Reservoir Road. If you've ever been up that road, you don't really want to pass some big truck.
It's awful.
Yes, or for fire engines,
Or
deputy
that.
sheriffs. Okay. So property taxes for schools would be frozen for 20 plus years, but only for about 70 plus parcels. Now, where exactly is this residential TIF going to be? Well, there is a big pie. The big pie is 5,300 acres. That's now called the Residential Economic Development Zone. It runs from Fairfield Causeway on the north all the way down to the town of Brookville. It runs from State Road 1 all the way over to Brookville Lake or State Road 101. That is the big pie. That's where the money can be spent. So any of this new residential TIF money can be spent in the big pie. Now, where, in case you forgot, got a handout. Remember this. This is our county map. 5,300 acres is the orange. That's the big pie. Residential economic development zone. That's the big pie where the money can be spent. Now the little pie, the little pieces of pie, the 70 acres where they're going to collect this money is, if you look at your handout behind there, you'll see it's in two parts. You'll see where they're going to collect the money. The first one is the bottom part of the TIF district. I don't have a color printer, so you see where the little circles are? That is about 19 parcels. You're not seeing all the parcel lines on this map. Now, those parcels belong to companies owned by Todd Sackstetter, Curtis Ward, Dave White, and Stephanie Graff, and individuals last named Finch, Oglesby, Race, and Spaeth. Now, some of those are small, already made up in lots. Some of them are big acreage, not yet divided into lots. So the plan for residential TIF is going to be vacant land. And the residential TIF is going to capture the money from new housing. Okay, there's the second part of this residential TIF, and that's the north section. Turn over another page. This is Sailing Ridge. It's up on Fairfield Causeway. It already has all of its infrastructure in there. It's got sewer, water, electric. It's already there. It's got 44 lots. It only has 4 houses on it. And they're going to pick up some lots just west of there. There's a handful of lots that are owned by individuals that are just west of there. So before this residential TIF gets done, there has to be a public hearing. There's not a date yet for the public hearing. It'll be this summer in the next 60 or 90 days. The public hearing, then it will go to the county commissioners who will make the final decisions. And of course, I'll be your representative trying to get that up to 15% of the tax collections to come back to the schools, because once you create a TIF, none of that money is coming to schools. None of the money is going for other services. It's not going to the library. It's not going to the county. It's not going to the township. It's not going for any county services either. Are there any questions or anything? Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I have a question. So the lots that you have circled, is there a plan with these property owners that they are to lot these off? Is this at the discretion of the property owners? What does that look like?
These property owners are mainly developers or people who came to the redevelopment commission and say, I want in.
Okay.
Like, they may be currently a farmer who's, said, I'm tired of farming and I'm ready to develop this land.
But the redevelopment commission has heard from each one of these property, and they're all in? Or is it like the majority, or?
As far as I know, they're all in.
Okay.
And more people, when they have the public hearing, or as this gets advertised, there could be somebody else who owns 10 acres or 5 acres and says, I want to get in too. And the benefit to them is, you might get hooked up to the sewers where before this, if you're not part of the residential TIF, you might not be hooked up to the sewers. You might not get help getting upgraded electric to your acreage, something like that. But the goal of the residential TIF is Indiana wants more housing to attract more people, and more people to hopefully bring more students to Franklin County. Any other questions?
In essence, we don't have any choice if they make the TIF or not, do we?
The school corporation has no veto power. As you know, I'm a non-voting member, so I'm there with 5 other people.
So basically, what I draw from this is, if there is, let's take out on 101 where the Reed facility was built. If they had that in a TIF before Reed was built.
Reed is in the TIF. Reed is in the industrial TIF.
For the increment financing
Yeah.
from this point forward, not when they first developed the building, though, right?
Yeah,
So the appraisal value of that land went substantially up.
oh, yes, millions.
And then, so we got in on that amount, but anything that is if they build another building, a parking garage, whatever have you, then that amount, we won't see any of that coming to the schools.
On the residential TIF, this proposed residential TIF, the new houses that are built, no money will go towards the schools.
So we're at the mercy.
Now, I want to correct something for just a minute. The Reed Health Complex, that was in an existing industrial TIF. All the millions that Reed spent there, that tax money is like in this year going to be flowing into TIF.
So the money that the school would have received is non-existent then.
Correct.
So we are basically getting the taxes if it was farmland.
Right. So that was a
And-
field. It was a field. It was probably valued at $250 before Reed Health put their health center there. Now it's probably valued at $2 million. So the school will still get taxes as if at $250 a year. TIF will get taxes on a $2 million complex.
And then if the redevelopment commission decides that they don't like the way the school would spend the money, we get nothing?
Well, they are
I
getting
mean, they
a
can give up
grant.
to 15%.
Up to 15% for a grant, and they have the right to say how that grant is used. Correct.
Or not spend it at all.
Or not
Or
provide
allot it
any
to
money at all.
another.
Correct.
So we're limited for our capitalized projects in the future by TIF is what I'm understanding.
Yes. Yeah, what I try and explain to people, they say, well, if you get new homes and you get more students, but the students bring you money, and you know this, into your education fund, which mainly pays for teachers and in the classroom, your operations fund depends on those property taxes. And your operations fund is building maintenance and buses and bus drivers and equipment and all that stuff behind the support behind those teachers. Sorry, did you have a question?
Yeah, on the first page where it says future revenue sharing, says the redevelopment commission will keep 100% of the tax money. Otherwise, the commission would have to share the money with all taxing units. Is there a reason that they can't leave the schools whole like they do in Ohio? Is that not an option?
In the Indiana code, it talks about this 15%, a maximum of 15%.
But that's for grants. I'm asking if the TIF was written up to leave the schools whole, so the schools would not be losing their portion
I
of the
would love
operation
it.
fund.
I would love
Is
that.
that not an option here? And if so, why are we
There-
not discussing it?
That's
I'm all
Indianapolis.
for
That's in
the
Indianapolis.
redevelopment.
That's in Indianapolis, when they do the laws and stuff, and they figure out how they're gonna write up TIF.
I understand, but I'm asking,
Legislature,
In Ohio, they,
you're shaking your head.
Yeah.
In Ohio, they leave the schools whole.
They have-
Like
yeah.
Harrison and Colerain and, yeah.
yeah, they have payments in lieu of taxes, and that's what I started talking about 3 or 4 years ago when Ohio,
I'm not talking about payments in lieu of
Yes,
taxes.
yes,
I'm
but
talking
we-
about leaving the schools whole.
we get the up to 15%.
But they
But my
always
question
say-
is, can that happen? Is that a possibility here in Indiana to
words,
leave
can
the
the
schools
tax-
whole?
As of right now, no.
No. What the
According
attorneys
to what?
tell
The
us
law-
is
is
The
that
no.
law, the law.
You're
yeah.
sure?
Yeah.
You would have to get a hold of your legislator and have them kind of like do an amendment bill and send that through and
So
see
you know
if
that
to
the
see
law
if they
says that
would.
the schools can't be whole, or you're just assuming because that's how it's always been?
At
That's all
one
I'm
point in
This
time,
is new. I
Indiana
was-
code was stating up to 15% may be given back.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Instead of giving everybody else money, just leave us by ourselves so we could get the money, right?
Well, they've always said, when I was on the redevelopment Brookville, that we don't have enough money in our TIF fund, so we want our money to grow. And I think that was kind of misleading even in the beginning, because they were saying, well, we don't have enough.
That's how Franklin County's was in the beginning.
Yeah, and that's the way Brookville is, and that's why we always get that letter from Brookville, and
But that's how
Well, it
that
is.
TIF was set up. I'm asking, this has not been set up yet. Is there a possibility of a discussion? Is the law, does it say that you cannot leave the schools whole?
We need to
If there
find
is a
that out.
possibility that you can we have that discussion?
Well, I'll ask the attorneys to look into that again, but that maybe residential is somehow different than industrial, but what they've told us so far is, no, they don't have to give us
You
anything.
don't have to give us anything.
They
I
don't
didn't say
to
they
give us
have
anything.
to.
No.
I didn't say they have to. I'm saying it can be fought for to keep the schools whole.
It could be, probably. But if you're part of that redevelopment commission, are you going to give the money to the schools? Because you're wanting it to redevelop infrastructure.
I understand that, but if you redevelop the infrastructure and you do bring in more kids, and then you have no money to upgrade the buildings or facilities,
Exactly.
that's my point. If there is a way to keep the schools whole like they do 20 miles away,
You should come to our next Franklin County Redevelopment Commission. You could be my wingman.
I'm just
He's
asking.
on
if-
Brookville
yeah,
now.
I'm just asking.
He took
if-
my.
I didn't know if you knew specifically because I have not looked to see the law. I've been asked about it a couple times. I've had discussions about it a couple times with some people, so I am really curious.
From my understanding, every IASBO meeting that I've attended, everyone and every speaker has said that the residential TIFs, we have no power. The schools have no power when it comes to residential TIFs. So,
Well, but Kevin's saying,
I'm not saying, I'm not asking if we can
understand.
force
let the
I
them.
person who writes up
understand.
the TIF leave the schools whole.
Yes.
But again, I'm just kind of skeptical about that because if I'm on a redevelopment commission, I want that money to go to redevelopment.
Do you
And-
remember, Francis, when they came in and said that to us?
Yeah, but the TIF language and stuff is started at Indianapolis. That's where you gotta,
Yeah, it's
that's
through
where you
state
gotta
code.
do it. I mean, if you want change in it, then you have to get a hold of your state representative or your.
I understand. I'm not asking for change. I'm asking
Yeah.
how it is currently.
No,
That's it.
Yeah.
what he's wanting to know is can we do this without having to change code?
Yeah.
In other words, can we be left whole without changing Indiana code?
I
Can
don't
we
think
fall
so,
into
but
that?
I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I don't think any of us do, Kevin. We'll have to find
That
out.
was my question.
Yeah.
Rick,
I have a hard time believing that they would have a state law that says you can't adjust your TIF according to what your community says you
Well,
want it to be.
once it's in place, it's like 20 years, 24 years
So if
before
the
you do
community says,
anything.
hey,
Yeah.
this is important to us, I have a hard time believing a state law would say, you can't do that.
You don't know Indianapolis on public education.
Rick, when did you first start on TIF? You were there before me.
Oh, gosh.
Long time ago.
10 years? or-
10 years, over
yeah.
10 years ago?
Yeah,
Longer than
yeah.
that.
And that's,
That's when it first started. You first got on
Yeah.
it.
yeah.
I think you first got on it in 2000 and maybe 2012.
I'll agree with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but when they set it up, it was kind of conflict with me because I'm supporting TIF, but I'm on the school board, and it was like when you was on it too, it's danged if you do and danged if you
Yes.
don't. You want to do infrastructure, but you want it to come to the schools. I don't think the schools are separate in it, but it's been a while and I would have to look it
I would
up.
argue to say the school is infrastructure. So
Yeah.
we need to ensure that our infrastructure is whole. And the moment we don't consider our schools infrastructure, we have a gap.
Yeah, yep. Oh, yeah.
And to that comment, maybe we're believing that the redevelopment commission will recognize that and give that money to the school. And Kevin just wants it guaranteed.
Kevin,
Is that my understanding, Kevin?
Yes.
Our two attorneys for Franklin County redevelopment are currently Grant Reeves, who you remember used to be on the school board with you, and Brenda DeVries from Indianapolis. So I'll shoot them an email and say
call
this
Grant.
question came up. Specifically, let us know about the residential TIF. Is there any way that a school board could share that money and share more than 15%? Is that
Which is also
Just a-
being offered in a grant form, which means you have to apply and you can say no.
Correct.
They can always say.
Yes.
Exactly.
Specifically residential, that's what this one is about.
Yeah.
An
Well,
industrial
my mom
TIF,
always
I mean, let's be honest, they're gonna get an abatement or
Yeah.
whatever to begin with anyway, so you're not,
Yeah.
there's nothing to get.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you very much, Sarah.
Sarah.
Very informative.
Thank you, Sarah.
When they built that at the Valley House,
Kevin, any legislative updates?
10 years.
How about TIF?
I
Just
was
kidding.
about to say after that one, hopefully next time, but no.
Future agenda requests, do we have any?
Lisa Tenzel, Mike.
Yes, I do. I was gonna ask, do we have any, sorry, my mind, do we have any plans or intentions of having Mr. Hofer back to tell us how the,
I'm
Trip
sure we
went.
will. I mean.
or can we
it'll be up
request
to
that he come back?
Dustin,
Maybe
and
wait
we'll have
till
that
August when
conversation
school's in
with
session, but.
Yeah.
'Cause
Or
they're-
maybe they'll place him under arrest.
I know they were
and we
just
never see him
there, I
again.
don't know if they're back yet or not, but just to see how everything went.
Yeah, we had our
A lot of fun.
drama individual take a tour in, not Italy, Eastern Europe, or Western Europe, through Austria and such, and they went as a group of students. So that should be something that we would really like to see presented under a celebration. Okay, recognitions, do you have any? Well, I do. This is Tammy's last meeting. And I will miss you dearly. I think you have been one of the best superintendents we could have hoped for. You took us from the brink of financial destruction and brought us back. You and Kendra made a wonderful team, and you and Keith also made a wonderful team. I think we've made strides forward. We've improved academically. And as an educator, you've been in it for 34 years.
Yes, sir.
And you have done wondrous things here for our school. I don't think you get sung enough praises because of issues within, but the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and the squeaky wheels were quite annoying at times, and you survived that. And I can't say thank you enough. I value as the superintendent and also as a friend in the future. I think you're absolutely wonderful, and everyone chipped in here, and there are 2 gift cards in here for you.
Thank you.
One for Texas Roadhouse,
Awesome.
and if you want to invite the board, and then the other one was for Lowe's, because I know you enjoy gardening.
I do. Thank
What
you.
are your plans for retirement is my question.
I'm going to take a vacation next week. That's all I got on my agenda right now.
Okay.
So.
Would any of the other board members like to address Tammy?
Yes, I would. It's been a pleasure working with you. I've enjoyed the whole time I've been on the board when you was assistant superintendent, working with you. Had some rough times and got through them, and everything was good. And like Francis said, I think you've been one of the best superintendents the school corporation has ever had. And what you had to weather from day one to now, I commend you for taking the high road on a lot of things that's happened. And that shows a lot about your character. And like I said, I appreciate the time working with you, and I wish you luck in everything that you want to do.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Tammy, you have been so good for our community. You've been so good for our school. I know that whenever there's something that comes up, and either or all of us or one person, you've always tried to make and do the best that you can. I've enjoyed seeing you out in the public. I've enjoyed working with you. I have enjoyed being your friend. I could always feel very, very comfortable coming in and saying, hey, what do you think? Or, hey, did you know this? Or, that was just a very, very good working relationship. Wish the best to you. You deserve the best, and enjoy.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, thank you for your time here. We spoke several weeks ago individually, one-on-one, so I'll leave that one at that. do appreciate everything you've done.
Thank you.
I know I've only been here a short time, but I do want to say thank you, and whether it's full retirement or you decide to do something else for a short time, I hope you enjoy it and wish you the best.
Thank you, appreciate it.
I just want to say I wish you the best of luck. Enjoy your time off. I hope you enjoy your trip. And thank you.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Thank you, Tammy. Enjoy your summer off.
I will.
Enjoy your retirement summer.
Kendra, Keith, would you like to say anything?
I will just keep that between us, but thank you.
Okay. Keith?
Best superintendent I ever worked for. Appreciate everything. Appreciate you bringing me up.
And just to let people know, I'm sure Dustin will collaborate with me on this one, is Tammy has taken really the high road and shared and made the transition to Dustin as smooth as possible. She's been very good at that, and she could have taken another route. She did not, and I respect her all the more because what she did was high road on everything. So, thank you. And on that note, would anyone from the audience like to address?
No, that's not.
Nope, that's enough. Wait, I can have my wife come in. Again, thank you very much for your service, and that will adjourn this meeting. Our next meeting is, somebody help me, I lost my page.
Well, the next regular board meeting, we have a meeting Tuesday. Do you need to announce
Oh,
that?
well, no, the regular scheduled board meeting is what I know.
July 8th.
July 8th.
Yes.
Right here, 7 o'clock. Thank you, everyone, for attending. I appreciate your service.